also known as Men Going Their Own Way, is an online community of men who have made the conscious decision to live their lives free from both romantic and legal relationships with women. A guy who chooses his own path prioritizes self-ownership and feels that only he has the authority to determine what his life's objectives should be. He feels that both society and societal expectations of women are antagonistic against him. Thus, he will not give in to them. Some mgtow members commit to doing good deeds, cutting off the supply of male material and spreading awareness about the millions of girls who take advantage of men and disobey our natural duty. The media has tended to avoid mgtow by mocking it and the men who go their own way. Others just brush it off as a cult. Whatever it may be, trends show a growing movement that cannot be easily dismissed because, as a few irate misogynists playing video games in angry mgtows would tell you, it is more of a philosophy than a movement punctuated with a severe serving of zero beeps provided. Men's rights activists do not seek to alter the status quo. Rather, they seek to avoid participating in social obligations such as marriage, parenthood, cohabitation, and other obligations. Women hate us because we won't give them what they want. Pickup artists hate us because they can't make money off of us. And feminists hate mgtow because we won't stand up to them. Men who want to go their own way do so for a variety of reasons. Their points of argument are often flawed and highly biased. It's simple to see connections between the mgtow phenomenon and the Trump phenomenon. In both instances, males lament their perceived loss of status and want a period in the past or the future when they are prioritized. Both sorts are very wary of the media and enjoy attacking it. By making our own decisions, we demonstrate that we don't adhere to any particular set of attitudes or practices. Thus, you would need to interview 50,000 of us in order to obtain an accurate interview. One mgtow might want to relocate to Phuket with 9 girlfriends, 20 children, and no wife, while another might want to construct a cottage in the woods and live off the grid. Another person could decide to become a surrogate mother and father without a husband. Another person might just reject a marriage or cohabitation agreement while blending in with city life like any other person. The policy of disorganized resistance, a phenomenon where independent groups or individuals come to the same opinions and take action against others based on shared ideologies, is one of the elements that makes micro particularly positioned for tremendous expansion. Mgtows are difficult to pin down in other ways as well. Their townmates are actually protesting against 2 different things. One is a culture that they believe gives women preferential treatment in almost all institutions, and the other is nasty males like pickup artists and ladies' men who exaggerate machismo. They did a passable job of framing themselves as underappreciated heroes. Pickup artists, feminism, and women are all issues. By saying that this isn't the many bowing out, they can avoid having to explain all the perks that come with being a male in the many. Despite their intense dislike of pickup artists, almost all mgtow men's complaints are connected in some way to what they perceive to be a pervasive genocentric bias towards men. They notably mention the following misleading allegations and feminist double standards. The victim experiences little to no harm as the harassment stops in a matter of minutes. False charges of amorous harassment, however, have a much more severe and lasting effect on the victim. A tainted system of family courts. Despite all the talk about gender equality, the geocentric bias of the family court systems is ultimately demonstrated by the unprocessed data that is available all around the country. Do you want to make female drivers safer? Remove the car, or at the least take her phone, and spray paint the mirrors a solid black. Many people, including women, believe that men are not treated fairly in society. I formerly believed that feminism advocated for gender equality in terms of opportunities. Currently, it refers to feminine privilege. There's a blatant disregard for men in courtrooms. Men's prejudice, in my opinion, is just as harmful as discrimination against women. Justice and dedication are now needed for men. According to a survey conducted by the Minnesota Supreme Court, 56% of the state's justices, both male and female, believed that young children should live with their mothers. 69% of male attorneys had come to the conclusion that judges always or often assume from the outset that children belong to their mothers. An assessment of 40% of female attorneys agreed with nearly all the attorneys. 94% of the men and 84% of the women felt that all judges exhibited prejudice against fathers at least some of the time. When concerns over unfair favoritism like this are perceived to be falling on deaf ears, people tune out and start to do their own thing. Men are 8 times more likely than women to commit suicide after a divorce, according to many who blame the bias against women in family courts. The 58-year-old New Hampshire man burnt himself on fire on the courthouse steps in June 2011 because he had had enough of the local court bullying him for being a man. When women successfully enter a traditionally male sector, some males find it to be undesirable. We can consider partnerships as something that women are increasingly feeling empowered to influence. Mgtow may be a case of males who decide that something has gotten too gendered and are going to give it up. A more unexpected example of male flight is cheerleading. Cheerleading was viewed as a very macho activity throughout the second half of the 1800s and the early 1900s. Ronald Reagan, Franklin Roosevelt, and Dwight Eisenhower all used it to help launch their political careers. When World War II veterans returned from the conflict, they tried to recover their proper place on cheering squads, which in turn sparked the tendency to incorporate women in this traditionally masculine activity. But the presence of women altered how people viewed applause. Teenage boys turned aside from the cheering in response. In the workplace, I have observed similar patterns. Men abandon their jobs as more women enter a profession. For instance, until a trained nurse called Ellen Church was employed by United Airlines in 1930, all flight attendants were men. When other airlines did the same, by 1936 women had almost taken over the position. Some people have pointed out an ironic similarity between mgtow's approach and what feminists have been doing for 50 years. Mgtow's dislike of women is seen as a less pleasant comparison to radical women because it calls for more than merely avoiding connections with them. They are promoting a specific sort of masculinity that is entirely apart from any other masculinities that have had a significant impact on American history. Caretaking masculinity would be the most obvious counterexample. Either I'll support my family and earn a living, or I'll serve as a loyal leader for my nation. Even the most well-known American masculine tropes are rejected and avoided by them. These are some of the most devastating truths about why men are going their own way. If you'd like to add something to this discussion, please leave a comment. Thanks for watching and happy holidays. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.